Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back. He's Alex, I'm Joe, and we're joined by, well, I'm going to say at this point, he's kind of like the third host, the triumvirate, author of Crashing, Matthew Klein. And we're here to talk a whole bunch of stuff that we probably won't stick to, but it's July 1st, folks. Let's get rolling.
Well, thank you so much for having me back today. I appreciate these return invitations.
Love it.
It's kind of my only way of being like, okay, I've done enough not to screw up, wherein they'll have me back, and I really appreciate that, guys.
Oh, anytime. Like we said, anytime. Anytime you want to come back on, just drop us a line. We're more than happy to hang out. On this fine Canada Day.
Oh, right.
Happy Canada Day.
God.
So how do you celebrate Canada Day, Alex?
So after this, I've got to go mow the lawn. The entire landing strip of a lawn that I have that would take me all of 10 to 15 minutes. And then my wife and I are going to go to the beach with her sister and our brother-in-law. I never know how that math works, but I think then after that we're going to go fireworks this evening, so somewhat low-key, which is nice. But yeah, just probably not too dissimilar to how some people celebrate the 4th.
No, that's pretty similar. That's
very
pretty similar to a lot of it. Yeah.
So the best part for me is because I work in a company it's heavily US facing. A lot of my teammates and colleagues are off on Tuesday, whereas we're off on the Monday in celebration. So I effectively get a 2-day long weekend, because even though I'll be in the office on Tuesday, there's nothing going to be happening. And it's
you mean you get a 4-day weekend?
Yeah, I said 2-day weekend. I meant two-day extra weekend.
Is that weird? Like, that's weird. It's a 2-day long weekend is what you always get. You get 2 days longer, so it's hence a 4-day.
Yeah, I missed the word longer. Anyway.
Anyhow.
Well, I hope you enjoy your beach day, Alex, and you enjoy some fireworks. And if you want to go full on American, stuff yourself with as many processed meats as humanly possible.
Oh yeah, hot dogs is a must.
Hot dogs forever.
Do you know what? I have heard this, forever. And I am not opposed to indulging in such a thing.
I fully support you.
I support it too. And if you really want to get, I know you don't try a, scallop roll. They're fantastic. I'm not saying.
Oh, those are great. Those are great.
But you don't like any seafood of any kind, do you?
I do not. No, I do not.
Right.
No, that's not true. Tuna fish. I'll eat tuna. That is
not.
It's because because it comes from a can, so I know there's no way there'll be any skin on it. It's not that I don't like it. It's that there's a psychological barrier where I feel like I've tried to eat it before, and
scallops have no skin. I think you should try a scallop.
True.
Get a grilled scallop. I think
very true. But scallop is a shellfish, is it not?
Yes, it's a mollusk.
Yeah, I am not 100. I am not sure. I'm not allergic to that because my mum is.
Yes. So really, what has to be done, Alex, is people have to trick you into eating seafood.
Honestly, yes, that is exactly what needs to happen.
Yeah,
I can eat fish. Yeah, like I can eat fish, and I have eaten fish, no problem.
Yeah.
I can eat fish in fish cakes, fish fingers, that kind of stuff, because I know there's no way there'll be any skin in it. But as soon as there's a chance, I wouldn't screw with it.
If you have shellfish, any type of allergen to that, I wouldn't mess with it. Not even.
No, and that's just I don't think I do, because I'm pretty sure I've eaten crab meat when I was 20, 25 years ago. I'm pretty sure, but again, it's so long ago that I don't remember.
Yeah.
What about you, Joe? Do you have any July 4th plans?
So yeah, it's Tuesday, so I'm gonna go to my buddy's where I'm gonna head out and see Money in the Bank today with him. He lives on the water, so him and his dad built the dock. So just gonna hang at the end of the dock, and it's over the river where everyone goes boating. So that's where all the fireworks are for our area.
Oh, nice.
So he's gonna have a bonfire. We're gonna do the fireworks. We're gonna do the swimming. We're gonna eat a lot of hot dogs, a lot of hamburgers. I did all my seafood last night. by myself because that gets expensive when you want to do it with a group of people. You either bring enough for everybody or the hell with it. But
So Alex, that's how you do July 4th. That's just so you're aware. What Joe is doing, that is kind of the
epitome of it.
That is the epitome. There's nothing special other than that.
It's it's one of those things, right? Like the special part of these two holidays is just in having a day and enjoying yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of a day and enjoying ourselves, let's get going.
I was hoping for a better segue. I don't know why. I don't know. So speaking of a day and enjoying yourself, the day that you can read Crashing in trade paperback is coming up very soon.
Well, that was going to be my segue. I was going to say the way you all should be enjoying July 4th is to pick up the new Crashing trade paperback.
But Alex mind melts with people, so he already knew.
There you go. Really excited. Coming out Tuesday, July 4th is when it's technically on sale. I'm actually embarking on a 7-state signing tour over the next 6 weeks, which might kill me. But I'm gonna have a blast doing it. So
is any of those states Massachusetts?
None yet. But Joe, if you want to help arrange that, I will absolutely make that trek up to Massachusetts.
Yeah, I would love it.
I would have a blast doing that. Apparently there's on another podcast I did a couple weeks back, the host was like, yeah, I know a store out in Bangor, Maine. I'm like, look, I would love to go to Maine by all means.
I mean, hey, if you're going to Maine, that's not that far from where I am at that point.
So here we are, guys. This is just my Northeast Canadian leg of the trip. Apparently, is what is being formed here on this podcast today.
Which store in Bangor would it be? Is it the coins and collectibles one?
You know what? I'd have to go back and re-listen to the podcast. I did not write it down, and that was my fault. So
that is the only store in Bangor, Maine that sells comics, probably.
There's a couple. There is a couple, but that is.
I think that is the big one. I think
that's the big one. That's the one that I ended up finishing off my Uncanny X-Men collection, or the good last chunk of it there. I've still got 3 issues left to go, but I got a good chunk of them there.
You're so close, Alex. You're so close.
My only experience with Maine is, I took a trip with my dad, a business trip years ago. We ended up staying in Jackman, Maine. And we were so close to Canada that everything had the American and Canadian flag. It was like you could spit over the border.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
We stayed in the only hotel in the entire town. It was a graduating class of 16 that my dad spoke to. They drove snowmobiles to school. And it was like being in My Cousin Vinny when we went to the diner. They served one thing, and it was called breakfast. You didn't know what was in it. It was just like, I'll have the breakfast, please. And you got what you got. So
what's in the breakfast today?
That's amazing, Joe.
Yeah, I kid you not, Matthew. It was the weirdest situation to see gas stations sell guns, not guns, but sell ammo, camo, and anything else you could think of. But they actually had evening camo and everyday camo, and I was floored.
There's a difference.
Yeah. The evening camo orange.
You sold me. My next vacation is going to be Jackson, Maine. So I think you also should call them up and be on the tourism board.
Hugh Jackman, Maine.
Incredible. Jackman, Maine. All right, that's it. Going to Jackman, Maine, everybody.
Okay, I need to look up Jackman, Maine because I've never heard of this.
Never heard of it. Well, I'm not starting my tour up there.
Walmart 40 minutes away. We're like, what? It was nothing. It was insane. And we saw on the way home.
To be fair, living in Manhattan, the nearest Walmart's probably about 40 minutes away, so I get that part of it.
I mean, Matthew, the population of Jackman, Maine is probably about the same size as your apartment building, assuming you live in an apartment building.
Exactly. You know what? I think you're not wrong. I think you're not wrong, Alex.
So how many people are in your apartment building? Would you estimate?
We've got about 27 units, and only about half to 2/3 of them are ever occupied at any given time. So I'd say we probably have about 40 people.
Okay, so I assumed you had like a massive sky rise. There's about 700 people, 782 as of the last census in Jackson.
Nuts.
So, so folks, if you're just tuning in now, this is a geeky podcast where we're currently talking about Jackman, Maine. And
yeah, exactly.
That happens every so often.
Well, I will say I'm not going to be starting.
Guest, so I apologize.
No, it's fine. I will say that Jackman, Maine will be where I end my signing tour. That's my plan.
There you go.
I'm gonna start it in Philly though. So I'm in a different location now than Manhattan, but I get back and I will be beginning at Brave New Worlds in Philadelphia on July 8th at 12 p.m. Then the next day I'm in Brooklyn, New York at Anyone Comics at 2 p.m. The following Wednesday, the 12th, myself and my editor, Heather Antos, will be at Forbidden Planet at 5 p.m.
Nice.
It's going to be great. That's my local shop. It's where I started my comics journey as a person working in retail. And then the 22nd, and then that Friday, I fly to LA. I will be at Golden Apple Comics, one of the best comic shops on the planet.
I just got all my stuff shipped from them.
They are great. I adore all those folks over there. And that'll be July 15th. I'll also be stopping in a bunch of shops in the LA area, signing some stock. I'm looking to get to Revenge of. I'm looking to get to Secret Headquarters. I'm going to try and stop by Tifa. Things from Another World. And then the following weekend, I'm in Montclair, New Jersey at Eastside Mags on July 22nd. The weekend after that, I'm doing a virtual event for Nowhere Games and Comics in San Marcos, California for their graphic novel club because they have excellent taste. Hilariously, the June guest is Jeff Johns and the August guest is Joshua Williamson. And I am in between. So that's hysterical. And then August,
awesome.
It's wild. And then August 5th, I will be at the Geekery in Matawan, New Jersey. August 11th, I will be at Borderlands Comics and Games in Greenville, South Carolina. And on August 12th, I will be doing a tour of Ultimate Comics locations in Raleigh, North Carolina. So that is the tour so far. And then I've got one shop I'm trying to nail down a date with, which is Captain Blue Hen in August, which is in Newark, Delaware. So that's the tour so far, but there's more.
That's an amazing tour. That's like quite the eclectic bunch.
How many states have you been to? Just out of curiosity.
Just for Crashing or for comics?
Just in general, because I feel like this is gonna. If you haven't been to many, this would drastically ratchet up your state number.
Oh, I've been to all these before. I think I did the math once, and I've been to about 27 or 30 states in the U.S. There's a lot that I haven't. There's a lot of like the Dakotas. I've never been to the Dakotas or Wyoming or Utah. Like you get to the center of the country, there's a bunch I have not been to yet.
Yeah. I've been to about maybe 12 to 14 states total.
But just the good ones. You've been to the good
ones. Yeah, of course.
That's
yeah. I've not been to the Dakotas either.
No. I was never a camper. We was never into camping.
Yeah, same.
Never went out there. Yeah, or skiing. Like
bugs, skiing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, I don't want to pull a Bono. Don't like bugs. I'm all set. That's the way it goes with me.
If you don't like bugs, Joe, don't come down to where I am right now because they will get you.
I'm sure. The bugs pay rent down there, right?
They don't pay rent. They own.
Yeah, we pay rent to bugs down there.
Exactly.
Yeah. I used to say, like, God has a plan for everything. And that's what people say. God has a plan for everything. And there's a reason for everything created. And I'm like, why the hell would there be cockroaches? What is the earthly plan for them? And the only thing I can think of is they're to pay our rent when we leave because they'll live around when we're no longer in our apartments.
It's a great question. I assume cockroaches originally were meant to be consumed by other bugs, but then they outgrew those bugs and became the Doomsday bug. But that's just me.
Like Doomsday, they just evolved.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyone listening, this has got to be the weirdest one we've done yet, and I apologize. Chopping up this is MJF proof pickle. And yeah.
I will say also for the Crashing signing tour, for anybody that comes and is first in line, I've got a little something exclusive for you. So pre-order or show up. I will be there. You can ask me all about comics. You can ask me all about the comics industry. It's a great book. These two love it. They've been so lovely promoting it. We're really, really excited, and sales have been very encouraging so far for the trade.
We have I know we have a few copies coming in that we've ordered. I don't know if the shop knows that I ordered them, but I ordered a good few copies coming in to our shop as well.
Alex, you're a prince among men. Listen, give me your shop's info, and I will be happy to make a video for them promoting it.
Sure.
I would love a copy of the trade with something snarky on the inside written just to me.
Well, I'll tell you what, Joe. If I can make a Boston stop happen, we will do it in person for sure, and I will write you a very snarky comment.
All right.
I won't reveal it here on the show. No. Heads up, but I already know what it's going to be.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So, we can talk anything, and we do talk everything.
Clearly.
Clearly.
But what do we like? What else do we like?
Well, I'm wondering, Alex, so you've been going through something fascinating, or not fascinating, but something kind of grueling, which is you're moving a store.
Yeah. So we had there was two comic shops in the downtown area where in my city. Obviously the one that I work for and another one. And about a month ago, the owner of the second store decided that he'd had enough. He was kind of a bit bored of it, just kind of burning out running the store. It wasn't like he was losing money. I think he was just tired of it. There's a lot more of like the I think I did see at one point he said the capitalist nature of things. So I think there may have just been a bit too much of the jiggling orders around, that sort of thing. But he called it quits, which is obviously a shame. You never want to see a comic shop go under. And the owner of the shop that I work for said to him, "Look, just so you don't have to store anything, I'll buy any backstock of any comics and graphic novels you have when you close down." And I mean, I know the it was about I think it's about 30,000 books or 115 or so 150 long boxes or so of comics, and then a couple more of graphic novels by this point. It wasn't the largest shop. It was a really cool kind of basement area. It's always cool in the summer. So yesterday, my boss said, "Hey, are you free on the weekend?" I'm thinking, "Oh God, what now?" Did one of the staff kind of fall down sick, because we don't have a huge staff count. It's often run like there's the owner, his wife. The owner's actually part-time to it. I'm obviously part-time because I have a day job. And then I think there's 2 full-time staff, and then just a lot of people that would just pop in and work a shift here and there as necessary. And I mean, it works for the store, but obviously because of that, when someone does fall down sick, you're like, now what? Now how do we balance it out? Which is always fine. So the question, what are you doing on the weekend? I'm like, oh great, now I'll have to work. Oh, that's not a big deal. I don't mind the additional income. And then I found out that the work was moving the store inventory he had just bought into our store. Now, we did toy with the idea of getting a U-Haul, because that would make sense. However, it really wouldn't make sense in our situation, because the store was a block away from ours. It was just like a one intersection, and literally just a block away on the other side of the street. And there's nowhere to park directly in front of the other store. So anywhere you'd have to park the U-Haul, you're already walking about half the distance to the other store, at which point you may as well just walk the rest of the distance. So we're moving 150 odd boxes, long boxes by hand.
Across the street.
Across the street, yeah. I'll show you guys a map of how far it is. It's not that far, but we
But
we
it's
had a
grueling
dolly.
when you do it that many times.
Yeah. So I ended up doing about 7 kilometers yesterday, lugging long boxes.
Oh god,
that's crazy.
Yeah, so there was 3 of us doing it, and of course, because the owner has his day job, he had a meeting booked in the middle of the afternoon. He's like, "I'm so annoyed. I told my assistant not to do this, but obviously the meeting has to happen, and I understand that, so I've got to do it." He said, "But this was not the best timing for this, and I'm sorry." So for like an hour and a half, there was just me. We were just lugging boxes up the stairs, across the street, and back. The guy at the other shop, because he was the only one there, so there was only going to be the 2 of us. He's like, "You just go back. I'll take these to the basement. You stand here and take a break. And if there's any customers," I'm like, "Yep, great." So we figured it out. We were just going through, and in about 4 hours, I think we got 55 boxes done. So it's mostly done. But yeah, like today I woke up, and of course I didn't account for this. Yesterday was going to be my rest day because I've been doing like a runs for from I think it was 5 or 6 days in a row that I had gone, just to see how many days in a row I could go. And today my plan was to go for a longer one to kind of test my endurance for a length. I woke up like, nope, my legs are shot. My right ear is sore. I'm like, nope, today is rest day, and probably tomorrow too.
Yeah, I don't blame you, man.
Yeah, but like
so
physical exercise
day. Rest.
But also,
oh yeah,
what kind of bonus back issues are you going to get paid in, Alex?
That's what I'm saying.
I'm going to assume that it's just a case of I get first dibs at whatever he sorts out of that, which is usually what happens. Is a case of he goes, "Hey, do you want this? Do you want this? Do you want this?" It's how I have such an amazing collection of Nintendo era Valiant comics. Those are
really desirable now.
"Oh, hey, do you need this?" I'm like, "Yep." He's like, "Great, it's this much." "Yep, just throw it in my slot and I'll pick it up."
Yeah, you got like endless credit there.
Yeah, and it's how Joe keeps getting some great. It's like, hey, we got this in. Do you want it? Like, oh my god, yes, I need that.
Oh yeah, Raphael.
So really, it's supplying the podcast, is what you're saying.
Exactly. I mean, the thing is that I said to Joe, is like, at the end of the day, I'm staff. Like, you get your hourly wage. It's It's like I would never expect anything more than that, being staff, and I don't think. But at the same time,
do it like Storage Wars, where you get to just pick one long box randomly.
Yeah, but you know, the problem with that is if I picked a long box randomly, I'd probably end up trading it back into Jeff because it would all be shit.
Yeah, exactly. You pick the crap.
Yeah, I was like, I'll give you $5 for that. I'm like, son of a bitch. So
it'd be all like Solar Man of the Atom. Oh wait, you like that stuff.
I wouldn't be opposed to that. But like I know one of the boxes had about 7 or 8 copies of the new 52 Batman number 50. So not a super desirable book, but that's just what happened to be in there. Because I was like, oh, I wonder what this is, thinking it might be a treasure, but it wasn't really.
Yeah, no, it's a trove.
Oh boy. Well, don't worry, Marvel's not going to do that, at least, so that's fine. But my gosh. Well, Alex, I mean, so tell me a little bit more about this other shop, because my day job is I work with comic shops at Penguin Random House. I work with about 500 accounts. I think the other day I calculated it's 526 comic shops I work with. So you were saying the owner just was like, I'm tired. I don't want to put in, the amount of hours and stuff.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I think
they just didn't have a successor. They didn't have a succession plan lined up, basically.
I just don't. Yeah, I think it was just a case of he was just done.
Sure.
Yeah.
And and it was very much a hobby business for him as well. Like he was there full time, but I think he didn't need to be there full time. And
yeah, sure.
And I think it was just a case of he's like, you know what, I've put 20-25 years in. I'm ready to do something new.
Yeah.
I want to do something different now.
Was it mainly, I apologize if you already mentioned this, I missed it. What kind of shop was it? Was it mostly single issues, or were they doing other things like kids books and
so I
pops
hadn't
and
really
D&D
been in
and stuff like
there.
that?
I hadn't really been in there since I started working at the other shop, because that just felt a bit weird to me going in. I did go there for a little while. Like I just have like a standing order at both places, but I don't know if I ever mentioned this to you, Matthew, but the reason I still read comics is because of Valiant.
Yeah.
Joe knows this, but
Very well.
I had kind of lost interest in almost anything, and I was like, I'm just done. Like, there's nothing interesting coming out. And I just happened to see an article about Valiant in a magazine that I had imported from the UK, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, that sounds cool. So I just happened to go into to this shop, and I said, can you get this? And he's like, yeah, no, sorry, we don't do that. I'm like, oh, okay then. He's like, I don't get Valiant in because it never sold. I'm like, all right. Didn't really understand that it was a brand new relaunch at the time.
Yeah.
And so I kind of let that lie, and then I was really getting burnt out of everything. Around, ironically enough, the same time I started writing for Graphic Policy, and we got it was a copy of Exo Manowar 38 or 39, the wedding issue.
Mm-hmm.
And I read it, I'm like, this is really good. Well, and that's how I ended up focusing almost entirely on Valiant for so many years.
So Exo Manowar was your entry level? I thought it was Bloodshot.
No, Exo Manowar 38 is the first one that I ever read, and it wasn't the first one I bought. I think obviously because we get review copies, and I fell in love with them, and it wasn't until I think Wrath of the Eternal Warrior that I started buying, and that was when I started buying a copy of every single issue.
That book nearly killed me.
It remains one of my that and Ivar Time Walker are my favorite two.
Ivar Time Walker is a blast. That's just a really fun Doctor Who style kind of time travel book.
I read Ivar Time Walker. I started at issue 9, read it, and then read the first 8 issues. And I was like, I don't know if I started in the wrong place or not, or if I started in the right place, or if it was written in such a way that you could start at any of the 3.
So I can tell you a bit about that one, because this is you're talking about the time when I was working at Valiant. Fred Van Lente really designed it so that you could begin. There were 3 arcs for the series, and you could really begin reading them at any arc, and then if you go back, it could be read in almost any order that was by his design. And it was very brilliant the way that Fred did it. I always say Fred he's an underrated kind of journeyman writer who's excellent at structure, and that was definitely the kind of book that really was in his wheelhouse, and it's still one of my favorite Valiant titles. Interestingly, so the fascinating thing about Ivar Time Walker is that I'm trying to remember, I think it was because to backtrack here, the natural order of comics is attrition. Your number 1 issue is your highest in sales. Your number 2 issue is your second highest in sales. And then you go down. Generally, there's about 50% drop in attrition from 1 to 2, and then a 30% drop in attrition from 2 to 3. And these are for books that debut around 10,000 and up. That's usually the way it goes. And then for 3 and 4, you start going down between 3 and 10%, depending on how good the book is doing. And then you get to the next arc, and you try to beef up that part 1 of arc 2 to bump up another 10-15% in orders if you can, and you find a way to do that. But for Ivar, books didn't go down for a bunch of issues. So it went from 1 to 2 dropped, and then I think it was 4, 5, and 6 all increased in orders month over month. Now, they weren't huge increases, but the fact that there were any increases in that sense was really amazing to see. And so we in the office, we all really liked Ivar Time Walker, and we all really sort of were rooting for it. And those sales numbers, it never tanked. It never, even as you got to the final issues, because when you get to the final issue, sometimes people know it's ending, and so orders really drop off. the last 2-3 issues, but not Ivar Time Walker. Ivar Time Walker was the little book that could for that whole run at Valiant.
Yeah, I think, like I said, Ivar and Wrath are my two favorite books, and I love the story in Wrath because I love how the first arc builds into everything else as to what Gilad goes through during his resurrection. But Ivar is the book that I can pick up at any time, read any of the arcs that I have. Now this is actually the one book that I have a ton of the hardcovers. There's a couple that I don't have.
Oh, that's a beautiful hardcovers, Ivar.
Yeah, like there's a couple I don't have that were too expensive by the time I started getting into the hardcovers. Ivar is the only one that I have that I wish that I would rather have in trade paperback, because you could read any of the arcs at any time, and it's a lot easier to just find between each bit. But I hadn't read the comic in sequential order until I actually got to the hardcover.
No, that's amazing. That's amazing. I'll tell you what, though, I really like Wrath the Eternal Warrior. So Wrath the Eternal Warrior was the reason it almost killed me was the amount of promotional stuff that I had to do with it. So one of my jobs at Valiant was I was in charge of getting stuff made, getting promotional items made. So we would all brainstorm and go, all right, what do we want to build for this promotional campaign? And then it was my job to go and actually work with the vendors and get the things made and find the materials. And for Wrath the Eternal Warrior, we did a huge campaign for it, but the biggest one were the axes. So I actually found online a bunch of prop axes that looked as close to Gilad's signature weapon as possible. Found an engraver in Manhattan, and I would literally bring 8 or 10 axes on the subway with me to this engraver, drop them off, and then like 2 weeks later go pick up these axes and then bring them back on the subway, which is not really allowed, folks. Like, I'm carrying weapons on the subway, basically. So I could get in a lot of trouble if cops decided to stop me and ask me what are in these boxes I'm holding. But they never did. So, but I did that. I ended up getting like 50 axes made and engraved over the course of like 3-4 months. And then we did a thing on the side, which was we told shops, look, if you order 500 copies, we will send you an axe for free. We couldn't do that through Diamond. It was all done on the sly. And so we were calling stores. So I would call stores and be like, hey, if you do an exclusive cover, you get an axe. If you order just 500 copies, screw it, I'll give you an axe. And so we got a lot of axes out into that world. I still have one in my apartment storage that was engraved. And we started, Robert Venditti, the writer, was brilliant. And this is where I learned it. He wrote a 1 on the first axe that he signed. So
that's awesome.
Which I believe was at Bulletproof Comics, if I'm remembering correctly. But yeah, he would literally he took the bottom of the axe and he wrote a number 1 on it after he signed the hilt. And I was like, that's it. So everywhere I do a signing now, I write number 1 and that location on the first comic I signed. So if you go to Brave New Worlds, if you're the first one in line, it will say first sign Brave New Worlds. For crashing, I promise you. But it's a great practice. And then we also did mobiles, which was a massive pain in the ass, but Hunter Goranson really wanted them, so we did them. And then we did a giant 6-foot standee. No, I'm sorry, it was a 5.5-foot standee for Wrath the Eternal Warrior. That was hilarious. So yeah, we did so much for that book, and box cutters and stuff like that as well, which were all popular promo item. I have bags of box cutters in my apartment somewhere from those.
I have so I've obviously living up in Canada, like we don't the shops that I work at never had a huge Valiant following, and what we did have was largely because I was the person raving about it to anyone and everyone. So I actually I got sent through the shop a Dr. Tomorrow baseball, which is the only baseball that I ever owned and ever will own
I love that. I love that so much.
And I have like a couple of box cutters that I've gotten over the years. I think I won a prize in the Valiant Halloween scavenger hunt. So they sent me 2 shot glasses, but one broke in the mail for Harbinger Wars 2. Like I've got sunglasses, Quantum and Woody thing. Like I've got a ton of bookmarks and stuff that I actually use whenever I'm reading a book. Because
nobody made tchotchkes like Valiant. Let's be perfectly clear.
No,
we did so much. But I'll tell you what, though, Alex, you have hit on one of the most important aspects of any comic shop what you just said there, which was you didn't have a huge Valiant contingent in the store, and what you had was because you were a fan and you were selling it. And that's all it takes. I probably sold when I was working at both Valiant and Forbidden Planet, Britannia came out, and that was one of the easiest hand sells in history. And we were selling like 150 copies a year of that volume 1 because I knew how to hand sell it. And I got the other employees to read it and they liked it, and we created a shelf talker and faced it out and we hand sold it like crazy. But that's what you do. Hand selling is everything. And I'm hoping that becomes Crashing. I'm hoping Crashing becomes a great sort of like, this is a staff pick, and the staff starts to hand sell it. And that's why I'm going to all these shops. That's why I'm calling all the stores, because I want to identify that's the thing, right? Like hand sellers.
If you do call our store, like, and I'll actually, I'll say that later on. But so the owner's wife, Sue, she has bought out the supply, like every supplier she can get her hands on for the book Snow Glass Apple, I think. Snow Glass Apples. Yeah. Because she can't keep it in the store because it's her favorite book, and she's just very convincing when she's selling stuff. So like we have, like, if you saw how many copies of Beasts of Burden that we order in, you would be like, how does this shop sell that? We rarely ever have any in stock. The back stock for Beasts of Burden is not very huge, but like at one point we had almost a full long box of stuff of like just the Beasts of Burden hardcover graphic novels in. They don't last long because she can sell them, because she loves the stories. Anything she loves does not last long. I don't know. The secret. Yeah,
that's the secret to, and that's the opportunity money in comic shops. It's like, yeah, everybody can sell Spider-Man, Batman. They sell themselves. Where you actually make money, where you grow your business, is the employees finding something they're passionate about that wouldn't sell otherwise and start selling it. My example for that is a book called Comeback by Ed Brisson and Michael Walsh. Came out 10 years ago, around like 2011. And I read it on my break one day. And I love sci-fi and I love hard-boiled detective stories. And this was a great combination of that. And we had one copy on the shelf. And the day I read it, I sold it. Next week, we got another copy in. I sold it. A few days later, we got 3 copies in. I sold them in a day. Next week, we got 5 copies in. I sold them in a day. I was starting to sell 25 copies a week, and it was just me. And I would literally, I would carry a stack of them in my arms, and I would walk around the store, and I would say, "Hi, this is my book of the day. Would you like to hear about it?" And then I would put it in their hand, make them look at some of the artwork, and give them a 30-second pitch. And that's how I was selling 25 copies a week of a book that no one had ever heard of. I think we were the #1 selling store in the country for that graphic novel for a year that I was selling it. But that's what you do. And that's how stores grow. That's how they expand. That's how they make more money, more customers. And again, that's what I'm hoping Crashing will be. I'm hoping Crashing is the staff pick hand sell item for the next several months. That's the goal.
We have our store is actually, obviously any comic shop has a strong superhero presence, but we actually, so yesterday when we were moving boxes, Sue had said to me, "Did I tell you what happened earlier today?" I'm like, "No, because I've just arrived. What happened?" Thinking it was something bad and I was about to have, I was going to get like bad news. She said, "Well, a couple came in and she was into superheroes, so she was buying some trades, and he said that he wasn't that into comics because he wasn't into superheroes. by the end of a 25 minute conversation, he walked out having spent far more money than she did. Yep. Not a single thing with superheroes, because Sue doesn't like superhero books either.
Yeah.
Like the majority of our stuff, obviously other than like the Marvel things, but most of our stuff is like Drawn and Quarterly, indie stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because we all kind of focus on what we like and what you want to sell. And it's like, I don't know if you know the book God is Disappointed in You.
Yeah, I know.
So our little store was the top selling store, I think, at one point worldwide, but I think at the very least in North America for a good couple of months on that book, purely because we all enjoyed it so much.
And like, that's the magic of it. That's the magic of it. And stores that are willing to do that do better than stores that aren't. Mm-hmm. And it's the store that when you walk in, nobody says hello, nobody asks if they can help you, nobody recommends.
Those are my stores. I have never experienced what you guys are talking about. Those are my stores.
I'm actually in two minds of this. If I walk into a store and someone says, "Hey," and I say, "Hey," I'm happy with that. Like, I don't need anything more than that.
Of course.
And like, you're just the acknowledgement as to someone walks in. I almost feel weird when someone says, "Hey, let me know if there's anything you can find." I'm like, "No, I'm good." But then at the same time, I remember looking, it's like, "Let me know if there's anything you can find. I just want to know where your Uncanny X-Men section is." "Oh, it's over here." And then we had a great conversation with them. And so, I mean, like, part of me is like, I don't like being asked because I'm introverted. I don't like talking to people, ironically.
Really?
It's a thing.
It is a thing. Like,
I am about as introverted as me.
Yeah, no, I'm like, if you put me in a room of people I don't know, even if it's at a conference that I'm actually fairly knowledgeable about the subject matter on, you wouldn't get that out of me. Like, I would.
Yeah, I get it.
But if you put me in a room with like you two, you're not going to shut me up because I know you, right? So it's the same thing. Ironically enough, in the comic shop, I can talk to anyone about comics for hours because that's what I love to do, and it's one-on-one. But if it's a group of people, I tend to be a bit quieter.
So my thinking on that, Alex, and what I always recommend to stores is that's where shelf talkers and dedicated sections really help you. Like what we would do when I was at Forbidden Planet is I took over a bay of, when I say indie comics, I mean self-published stuff. And they're great, but they weren't selling super well. So I took over a bay and I made 15 slots for face-out graphic novels, and they were all volume ones, and every single volume one had a shelf talker. Mm-hmm. And we ended up having about 30 shelf talkers made because we just kept selling through them, and we didn't have to hand sell. One, you could hand sell because it made it easier, but for people who were just walking in and didn't want to talk to a salesperson, they could still find a great read. We would do it by theme. We would switch them out all the time, and it really, really worked. And I dealt with a ton of introverted and shy customers, and I was one of those. And what I would do is I would wait for them to have something in their hands or have or look kind of indecisive about something in a section. And that's when I would approach them and ask them if, what they like to read, if they'd read that, or I would say, "Oh, that's a really good book." And I would tell them why real quick, and then I would walk away. I would never prolong the conversation.
Yeah. We have a feature shelf in the shop as well. I this is by far one of my favorite shows, by the way, because I kind of forget you're not one of the hosts, Matthew, at this point. Anyway, so we have like the feature shelf in our shop. It's not the biggest shop in terms of square footage. Like everything is taken up and everything's being kind of constantly in flux as hey, this isn't working, let's take this down, let's put this up. Like our board games are gradually decreasing because we found we're selling way more magazines and they fit in the same slots. Right. So that's kind of growing out as the board games are decreasing a little bit. But we have there used to be, or there is a triangular thing in the middle of the store that used to have our weekly new releases on. Mm-hmm. And one summer we're like, this isn't working because we ended up having to build like a shield of cardboard to stop the wind from catching the comics. So this isn't working. We need to move this to somewhere else. And what do we do with this shelf? And someone that wasn't me had the idea of, let's make it a feature shelf so we can change it either every month or whatever.
That's good
smart.
merchandising. That's what you do. You always change your shelves every month, like clockwork, to keep it fresh.
Anything on that shelf, even so, the general rule is if it's on that shelf, someone in the store loves it, and it's worth reading. I don't have to have read everything. I don't have to know what it's about. I just have to know, like, hey, obviously knowing what it's about is going to help the conversation, but you don't need to have read it. But it's very much a hey, if it's here, it's because someone loves it and highly recommends it to someone. I think
that's infectious. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. It absolutely is. Like some of the books that I love, like I can't wait for the Crashing Trade to come out. Some of the books that I've had so much success in getting people to read. Did you ever read The Wrong Earth?
I've not read The Wrong Earth. I've heard about it though.
So, Joe, if you haven't read it and you haven't heard about it, it's basically what happens if Batman 66 meets like, you know, the Dark Knight Batman from Frank Miller's universe.
Oh my God, I'm there.
And then on top of that,
pitch.
like they switch worlds. So Batman 66 is in Frank Miller's world, and Frank Miller's Batman is in Batman 66.
66, right?
It is like absolutely amazing. I love.
Yeah, that
sounds like. And the best part is you don't really, if you're a Batman fan, you don't need anything more than that, because like, oh, I have to read this.
Yeah, absolutely. You just sold me.
It's a cosmic Freaky Friday pitch. Basically.
It's absolutely. It's one of the easiest books to read. I love it. I think I have I actually started at the second volume, and then realized that there's a first volume. So it's just brilliant. Like I love it.
Who puts it out though?
I think it's Ahoy.
I think you're right. I think it is.
I think it's Ahoy. What do I have? It is indeed Ahoy Comics. And yeah, it's just The Wrong Earth and then The Wrong Earth Night and Day are the 2 volumes that I have in trade at the moment.
You know what I love about that too, Alex, is, and what I always love about a staff section is that customers start realizing there is a staff member with similar taste to them. And then they will start seeking that person out in the store when they do want a recommendation.
Yeah.
Right. And so much about building your customer base is about building your store as a safe place and as a fun, inviting place. And some of that is you've got to not just sell who the store is, but you've got to sell who the people working there are. Like they come to support you and they come to talk to you, Alex, at the store, as much as it is to visit the store, because they could get all this stuff on Amazon.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Absolutely.
You know what I mean? You got to sell the people. The people are part of the brand at comic shops, in my opinion.
So I famously know nothing about magic, and we have a magic section behind us, and there's a guy that comes in. He's like, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm like, "Great." He's like, "I need to look at a binder." I'm like, "Sure, which one?" He's like, and he just tells me where it is because he knows. Or he'll tell me how old it is, so it gives me a hint. He's like, I think I can find, it's down there to the left. I'm like, great, thanks. Like, he thinks it's hilarious. I still, I know roughly where they are, but I couldn't tell you anything about magic. There's so much knowledge there that is just, I can't find a way to get it into my brain. But it's the interactions we have, like we're chatting away, like, and he'll tell me about it, and I love listening to it, because I love listening to anything when people are passionate about it.
Right.
And the other day he asked me for a binder and I turned around and grabbed it, and he's like, I never expected to see you just turn around and grab the binder. I said, in fairness, someone just asked for it before and I just put it back. And he said, you see, you should have just kept quiet about that. I'm like, nope, because then you'll expect me to do it again.
Well, you know, it's one of those things. It's like the secret to great comics retail is not a secret. And it's don't judge your customers.
No, exactly.
Don't judge your customers. I would have people come in and go, hey, where's Crossed? And if you don't know what Crossed is like a cannibalistic gore fest of a book. And it's not my speed, but I would never look down on the customer. No. I would say, it's right over here. And if you like that, here are 3 other books, because I made sure to learn what other titles those readers would read. And I would say, here's 2 or 3 other options if you're looking for something like this. And then I would sell more books, and they would be so relieved, because some people would be like if they're asking for Zenoscope or they're asking for Cross, sometimes they get a little nervous because they're like, I'm this person, and it's like, no, that's great. You're that person. Come on in. We've got a book for you.
We have a guy who buys every Zenoscope book, and Zenoscope isn't my cup of tea, but the covers are fantastic. And we chat about it, and I know there's certain things he does for like his Zenoscope reward thing. Like I don't really understand or know too much about it, so I don't want to put words in an incorrect place.
Sure, of course.
But like we have chats about that. Anything else that comes up, like it's one of those things where whenever you have regulars like that, it inevitably does become people that end up coming in to see you or just to chat. Because like, hey, I know this person's working. I'll go in for 5-10 minutes. And there's someone came in and was like, oh, I don't have anything for you today. Oh yeah, no, I know. It's part of my routine to come in and chat for a bit. So I came in even though I know there's nothing for me, and I'm gonna head on to get some lunch or something.
So my favorite regular customer story, I have two. Mm-hmm. One was a guy named Darius. So I just started working at the shop. It was 2011. It was a couple months before the New 52 relaunch. And Darius came in with his girlfriend, and Darius had not read a comic in 5 or 6 years. And I gave him the Jeff Johns Green Lantern graphic novel series. And the next week he came in, I gave him the origin story, Secret Origin. The next week he came in, looked for me. He said, that was great. Then he bought the rest of that run. And then when September came and New 52 started, he opened a pull box and got every single title. All 52 titles he subscribed to.
Wow.
And because he and I had a good 10-minute conversation and I found one book he really enjoyed, that man spent, I think, over $5,000 that year in the shop.
Oh my God.
That's
on
insane.
Comics.
Like that's fantastic. Yeah. It is.
Some of those books were not good either. My God.
Like I actually read, I think for the first year or two, I read every single New 52 book.
People did.
Because I
good
did
or
it
bad.
Yeah, I did it for a feature that I was writing at the time, and it wasn't. I think it lasted about 5 years, and the whole point of the feature was it was like a recap as to can you read this from the beginning without any prior knowledge, and once it got to the point where you started to need knowledge about the previous run, that we decided it was burning me out as well.
Sure.
So we ended the feature, but for a long time I was reading everything, and there were some dire books, but there was a lot of diamonds in the rough. And unfortunately, I think for the New 52, I mean, Joe and I always talk about Scott Snyder's Batman run.
Oh God, that's the gem. That's the gem.
Right? Like that still commands high prices for people to this day. Favorite. Because it's for me, it is the best Batman run. Like those 52 issues are perfect.
The Superman run with Dan Jurgens was dreadful when they brought in like Hellspawn and all that from.
There were a lot of misfires. There were a lot of, but I also love the Azzarello and Chang Wonder Woman is one I will go back to.
Good.
Absolutely stunning.
And I did dig the Aquaman. I did dig the Aquaman.
Yeah, the whole reason there's an Aquaman movie is because of that run of comics.
Yep. The Red Hood and the Outlaws was fantastic.
Yes, I was just about to.
Was that Rebirth or was that?
No,
that was New 52.
New 52, the first run.
Yeah.
Frankenstein, Agent of Shade was an underrated gem in that whole thing as well. That was great. Mm-hmm. Dial H for Murder. I'm sorry, Dial H for Hero was pretty fun. Like there was some good stuff.
There was some just awful stuff too.
And the thing is, I think the issue with it is that trying to condense everything into the last 50 some years of continuity happened in the last 5 years. Figure that out.
Well, they didn't figure it out. That's the problem, basically rushed a reboot in 6 months, and they still, by the time the books were coming out, did not know what the continuity parameters were. And Dan Didio has said this on panels, so I'm not like speaking out of school here. And it's tough. Like they were in a dire state sales wise. They knew they needed to do something massive, and they only had so much time to do it in, and it worked.
Right.
But they did not have everything figured out, and that was also why there were so many creative musical chairs for the first few years as well. And then suddenly Scott LaBelle was the one guy writing like 7 titles because he could crank out a script in 2 days if needed.
Yeah, exactly.
It was brutal. Well, I know we're starting to run low on time, and Joe, I know you had a specific topic that you wanted to talk about.
I did, and I'm extending my topic time by 10 minutes. I just texted somebody and said, listen, I won't be there for a little bit because this is important. But no, I've enjoyed you guys just kind of going on the ins and the outs. Like, I've never experienced a comic book store like that, though. Like, my comic stores is very much like you got the Magic the Gathering table and the Pokemon people in the back. You got your collectibles. But, like, I don't know. The owners and whatever don't really talk. You know what I mean? They're just kind of like, yeah, there's our stuff. Go look around. You already know what you want. You know what I mean? So to see somebody or hear about somebody like walk around the store and like elevator pitch you, I think is kind of refreshing. It's pretty cool. I wouldn't mind experiencing that because I basically get my new books, like new really good recommendations from Alex. He's like my point man for anything. And so far,
your personal hand seller.
Not one book has been a miss. Not one. Like he got me on Once and Future. He got me on Crashing. He got me on Voracious. Oh God, what's the other one? By the Horns. Yeah, I was like, sorry, Marcus-san. Just trying to remember it. But I mean, anything has been gold. The only one that didn't really stick with me is Bloodshot. But that wasn't Alex. I've had exposure to Bloodshot before. I read a couple of the ones that Alex recommended. It was good, but it wasn't like anything that set my world on fire where I'm like, oh, I need Bloodshot in my life. But like, because I was already a Punisher fan, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. I know they're not the same, but I do stand by this. And I think I said this last show, Alex, or 2 shows ago. Have you read the Punisher run, the Jason Aaron Punisher run with Frank being the Fist of the Hand?
I've read bits and pieces of it. Like I know the general gist.
Thing.
It's like I know it's good. I just haven't read it, if that makes sense.
It's so good. Matthew, you've read it, right?
I have not been reading it. I've read the first couple issues, but I did not stick with it. I was going to pick it up in trade when it ended.
It takes a little while to get going.
It's over now. So
it's over now. It just ended. Takes a while to get going, but man, it's so good. It's so bonkers off the wall good. It's just fun. But yeah, if we could switch gears, I was gonna, just before I jump off, you guys can chin wag all you want. I learned that word. And keeping it UK talk today. And going on, we're all I guess we're casual wrestling fans here, but nothing crazy. But
nothing crazy, not at all.
Today is Money in the Bank, and I don't know about you guys. This feels like WrestleMania to me. A WrestleMania feel.
This feels like a SummerSlam for me. I don't know about WrestleMania, but this definitely feels like a SummerSlam. This is a big show.
Yeah,
they really made Money in the Bank the big 5. This is now the big 5 pay-per-view.
Yeah, you're right. You could call.
So what would you consider? So for me, the big 4 would be, I mean, WrestleMania, obviously, SummerSlam,
yep,
Survivor Series, and Rumble.
Survivor Series, SummerSlam. Those are the big 4. The quarterlies.
Those are the 4. They tried to make King of the Ring the big 5 in the 90s, and then it petered off. And now Money in the Bank is really considered sort of the 5th biggest show of the year. Sometimes bigger than Survivor Series, though, you could argue.
Definitely.
I think it depends on the storylines being told, because you could absolutely argue it's bigger than SummerSlam, because, like, say if someone like LA Knight wins the Money in the Bank briefcase, and you know that he's got an excellent chance that he's going after either Seth or Roman or whatever, right? Like, and that can build from that.
I think Matthew's thing about Money in the Bank being the big 5, I think it does replace King of the Ring in that spiritual sense, because essentially who wins the briefcase would be akin to who is the King of the Ring, who's getting the next big push, right?
Absolutely.
Most of the time. So that would make sense. I mean, it doesn't always work out. What's his name now? Damian Sandow, things like that.
Yeah.
But it was funny. It was a statistic last night during SmackDown, and they said that the women's Money in the Bank winner is 100% of the time successful. I guess because it hasn't been around as long.
Far, there haven't been that many, but I think there've only been 4 cash-ins for the women's division.
Yeah, so is that the kiss of death, where it's like in football where they say he hasn't thrown an interception in 293 throws? Oh shit, there he did. So we'll see. But I'm looking at the card. It's a little out of order, but I don't know the order. We don't know, right? But
no, we don't know.
We'll start out with the women's tag team match, folks. So it's Ronda and Shayna versus Raquel and Liv. And I got to say, I'm super torn on this one. If it was Ronda and Shayna against anyone else, hands down, I want Ronda Shayna. I love Ronda. I am a Ronda Rousey mark to the fullest. But I just root for Liv, and she's always getting bad breaks, literally and figuratively. So it's like, I feel like if you bring them back to lose to Ronda and Shayna, it's going to kill their momentum, or maybe Liv goes back on singles. But I feel like if you take it off Ronda and Shayna now, you just stomped Ronda and Shayna's progress.
Shocking no one, I have a theory for this match.
Okay, so, I love it.
First of all,
it's
really smart booking because Liv beat Ronda at last year's Money in the Bank in cash-in.
Correct.
So to bring it back and they're fighting for another title this year is very good booking. I think because they're teasing Raquel and Rhea Ripley as probably the SummerSlam match. I think Rhea comes in and costs Raquel and Liv the titles. And Ronda and Shayna get to keep it and get to keep going on a lengthy reign.
Yeah.
And then you're going to pivot and have Raquel versus Rhea at SummerSlam. So I think that's where they go with it tonight.
Okay, so you're going to lock in Ronda and Shayna retain.
I'm going Ronda and Shayna.
Okay, Alex?
Sure.
It's not AEW, so he's like, whatever. It's not the Acclaimed. It's not FTR.
Talk about a bad break physically. Poor Bryan Danielson.
Oh man.
Brutal.
How on a sidebar for that guy wrestled 60% of the match with one arm?
No, you could see when it happened. It was the elbow drop that happened towards the second elbow drop. You could see he must have landed on his elbow. Because after that, Danielson was keeping his arm in, even though he ended up having at least 2 whips to that arm in that thing. So I think whatever submission he did at the end was not the intended one, because I think Okada was like, "Am I meant to tap out to this? Is this where we're ending?"
Because he even did a drop on that elbow. Okada dropped him, and it looked like he was in wretched pain. He squealed. He was like,
"Well, good news was he didn't have to sell real hard."
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Yeah, I heard it was a great pay-per-view overall. I missed it, unfortunately. I really wish I saw it, But I'm on to Wembley for AEW, and we'll get there when that occurs. So all 3 of us are going to go with Ronda and Shayna. I'm just going to go because it's the smart booking. I think if you take it away from Ronda and Shayna right now, it's too soon.
It's too soon.
And also, I think Ronda walks if you take it off of her. I think she's on her last legs with the company, I feel. I don't think she's I don't know what it is. I don't think she's super happy there. And
who knows?
I think she's happy with Shayna. That's her bud. So
I think
what she wants.
I think Ronda wants to help Shayna move up the card. I think Shayna needs Ronda. I think they're going to go on a 2-woman power trip, and I think the eventual goal is Ronda versus Shayna at Mania next year. I think that's what they want to get.
I would love that.
I think that's the plan.
They do? Okay, I can see that. I like how you said 2-woman power trip, referring back to Triple H and Austin.
Yeah.
Nice grab there. All right, so we're all 3 in consensus on that one. The next one, I don't even want to finish the sentence. It's the IC Championship, Gunther versus Matt Riddle. Do we even need to expound upon this? If you pick it against Gunther, come on. Alex,
he's got to break the Honky Tonk Man's record, so it's going to be Gunther.
I think at this point the WWE are all in on going back for like long runs and breaking records again. So I think that you're going to see Gunther break the record, because it also builds Gunther up as a legitimate threat potentially for not the next the next world champion, the one after that,
whatever.
So like if it's going to be right now, so if Gunther ends up being the heel that takes it from whoever beat Seth or the person who took it, like a couple down the road, like you're gonna set Gunther up as a champ down the road.
Oh, I think Gunther could really be a future world champion.
Oh,
absolutely. I think you're really putting him in a position, and I think there's going to be a Cody Rhodes match in there after their Mania exchange. Somewhere in there, Cody and Gunther will happen. But as far as this match goes, it's a no-brainer. It's Gunther, but Riddle will give him that hard-hitting style match that Gunther likes, that you come to expect. Yeah. For the live crowd, and it'll be a good showing. And who knows, maybe Randy Orton will pop up. Nobody.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. Good call, Matthew. Good call. I just think there's no peril in this match whatsoever. It's a foregone conclusion.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It's not about the destination. This one's going to be about the journey.
The journey.
This is about how well does Riddle come out of it. Like what does he look like coming out of it at the end?
Exactly.
Yeah, he is 50-50 booking at best right now. But the next match, I'm torn on this one. This is the women's Money in the Bank. So you got the man, Becky. You got Zoe Stark. You got Zelina Vega. You got Bayley, Io Sky, and Trish Stratus. This one's hard for me to call because the smart money says that Becky and Trish don't win it and they go on against SummerSlam and fight each other one-on-one non-title. But the other thing is, who out of the rest of these? It's too early for Zoe Stark. I don't care what anyone says. That woman is not polished yet. That Z360, that's her own move. She doesn't hit it right half the time. Zelina, I love Zelina. I do. But I don't know if I could see her winning. But then again, I couldn't see Liv a year ago winning.
She's the sentimental favorite. Liv's the sentimental favorite. I'm sorry, not Liv. Zelina is now sentimental favorite. What I love about this match, though, is you have so many storylines intersecting here. Because they're teasing a breakup for Damage Control.
Yeah, with
Bayley cost Io the briefcase here, and that leads to their feud. You've got Trish, Becky, and Zoe and their feud going into this. You have the Zelina Vega underdog Cinderella story that's coming into this.
Yeah.
And there's some history between all these women, which is really fantastic.
Right.
So I think this is a pick'em. I think this is a real pick'em. I'd
love to see Trish win it, to be honest. I'd love it.
Look, part of me is like, man, Trish coming out of this with the briefcase because Zoe gets it for her would be the ultimate heel move.
It would be so great.
It would be really. But here's the thing. They're also teasing Becky and Rhea a lot.
Right.
So if you go into, and also, quite frankly, Becky is from Ireland. She's not far from London. If you want a hometown pop, so to speak, that's where you get it. And Becky can then be like, "Oh, you're gonna fight Raquel at SummerSlam. That's fine because I've got this briefcase, and I'm now always gonna be in your head." And I could see Becky Lynch being like that. So I don't know. I kind of want to go Becky on this one.
Has Becky ever won it? I forget.
She's never won it, and that's the storyline.
There you go. That's the accolade.
Okay. I've always been the last person on the ladder knocked off by the winner in every match she's done of this.
Right. Okay, I'm going to go with Becky. You just elevator pitched me. I'm going to go with Becky.
Having no real idea, I just want Becky to win.
I love Becky. Becky's my fave. But
Becky's the best.
Initially, I was going to say Zelina because I can see the other Damage Control feuding amongst themselves by the end of it, or costing each other something.
Trish, I think she's great in this role.
Oh, Trish as the puppet master has been great. She has been killing it. She was always better as a heel than a baby face.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, so where do we go next, Joe?
All right, sorry. Next, we're going to roll with Rollins versus Balor. So Seth versus Finn for the championship. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to go with Finn.
I was going to say,
I know
because
it's
Balor
unconventional. I'm going with
also would be close to a hometown pop too. So I think if
Exactly.
you don't have Becky win Money in the Bank,
Right.
I think you're going to
It's
see
one
Balor
or the
win.
other. I don't think you get both.
Agreed. I'm going to call both because then I think I'll be right for at least one of them.
All right.
I'm gonna go with Seth because I don't think they'll take the title off him this early. They have given themselves an out with the rib injury, but my pick for Money in the Bank is what's feeding into this. And I think it'll be Seth that takes it in this.
All
case.
right. So then next we'll get to the Money in the Bank. All right. So Finn, I say, just because. First of all, that promo he did, that video package,
great,
so good,
so damn good.
Best Finn I've seen in so long. Like, where the hell has that guy been? That's where we need.
Well, that was the Finn in NXT. His second NXT run was that guy doing that promo.
The Prince.
The Prince. I love that.
So, but with Seth, he's got Captain America going on. And I understand that he's going to be, he's dedicated and he's proved it so far. But I feel like this title has to be the antithesis of Roman's title. This should be the hot potato title. This should be the title that you're using to make and push people. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need super lengthy 1,000-day reigns with this title. Yes, I understand you want to make it as important as Roman's title, a la the way Triple H made the World Heavyweight title when he just got hanged by Bischoff. But I don't know. I just feel like Finn needs to come up here, unless you see something like Damian Priest screws it up or something, and Finn
which could happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Damian could come out trying to help, and then accidentally cost Finn the title, because they're teasing that breakup for Judgment Day, or they're teasing at least that Damian Priest is going to get kicked out, or Finn will get kicked out. One of the two.
And I think they'll strengthen the members with somebody new. So
if it's Damian Priest, they'll bring in JD McDonough, because you've seen Finn backstage talking to JD, and he's got a history with JD. He trained him and everything. So I think that would be the play, and that is why I've got an interesting pick for Money in the Bank for the men's match. All right.
So I'm going with Finn, though. Alex, you said Finn.
Yeah.
I'll be the odd man out and go with Seth.
All right.
I feel I can see Becky and Seth winning the two matches, but if Becky doesn't win, then I think Balor's going to win. So I'm going to hedge my bets and just go with both.
Right. Let's go right into Matthew's unconventional pick with the men's Money in the Bank, and it is
Damian
Ricochet, LA Knight, Shinsuke Nakamura, Santos Escobar, Butch, Damian Priest, Logan Paul. Okay, so you say Damian. I like your idea for Damian more now that I've heard your pitch with Finn. That makes a lot of sense, because I couldn't figure him winning. Although he is having a great showing lately.
Look at Damian's year with Bad Bunny.
Yeah, he's doing good.
Puerto Rico.
He's doing real good.
His world title match with Seth. This guy is on, and again, I don't think it's a cash-in that happens anytime soon. I think you keep building Damian over the next 5-6 months. Yeah. And then have him cash it in maybe at Rumble or something like that. Yeah. I think Damian is a star on the rise. I think they're looking at Damian as a guy that could be world championship material. And this is one of those, we're going to put the rocket on him and see how it goes.
Okay.
And it's going to lead to the breakup of Judgment Day, because Finn will get so jealous of him.
That's a good point.
It will kick him out.
Yeah. So, having said that, I'm going to discount everything you said, and I'm going to go at LA Knight. Yeah.
I mean, if he doesn't win, that building might riot.
Yeah, I know. But I also think there's still an air of Vince there, where Vince is like, Logan Paul, fuck him, that's why.
I'll tell you what, though. It looks like they're building potentially to an LA Knight Logan Paul match next month at SummerSlam. Yeah. So you don't need the briefcase for that match.
No, Logan but Paul's if LA Knight wins or Logan Paul wins the briefcase, and then the match at SummerSlam is for the briefcase.
Absolutely, Alex. This is a perfectly reasonable.
Good call, Alex. I like it.
It's a very strong theory. And again, that's why I like this match. I can see a path to victory for almost everybody in there. Like you can.
Not Santos and Butch. I'm sorry, I can't.
I'll tell you what. If Triple H looks at Butch, changes that name to Pete Dunne. If you want a hometown pop,
hell yeah.
If you want a hometown pop, it's Butch winning that briefcase, coming out on Raw Monday or SmackDown and saying, I am with this briefcase. I've leveled up. I'm no longer Butch. I'm Pete fucking Dunne, and just absolutely, you are gonna see that place go nuts. But again, it's a dark horse pick.
Yeah, it's a definite dark horse.
But it's possible.
But I like it. It's possible. Alex, what do you say?
I just because I saw the LA Knight promo where he's walking to the ring and called Logan Paul.
I just saw that too, yeah.
Yeah, like it was a minute.
So
I was like, I don't know who this guy is. The only time I've really heard of him before was when Joe said that you were at Raw and you saw the LA Knight Cody match. I'm like, this guy is electric. Like watching him for a minute, I was like, this guy is like I would tune in to watch this guy because his mic skills, like in that minute that I saw, were fantastic.
Austin and The Rock. Yeah, he's a mashup of Austin and The Rock. It's so crazy.
He is one of the most charismatic and one of the best talkers to come around in years.
Yeah.
And he is absolutely, I mean, every arena, every day, the cheers are getting louder and louder. And I mean, if you saw SmackDown last night, what a
it was nuts.
This guy is over. But again, is he so over that he doesn't need the briefcase? This is my question.
Or is he over enough that they want to reward the fans for?
I think they have plans for him as the world title holder.
I think they do too. I think they absolutely. Or he's the guy that breaks Gunther's Intercontinental title reign.
Okay.
On his way up to the world title, he could take that belt from Gunther. Although I still think Dominic Mysterio will be the guy to end it because what a heel move.
Let's go to that match next.
Sure.
So they say that this is the main event, believe it or not, which I think is a misstep. It shouldn't be a main event because I think.
Well, we don't know. We don't know till it's bell time.
Well, I just think it's a misstep because then you're just automatically telegraphing Brock Lesnar's going to pop up, and I want there to be some air of mystique to the main event. But I'm going to go with.
We all know Brock is going to pop up. Let's be.
Yeah. I'm going with Dom. Dom gets a heel ass win over Cody.
I'm absolutely with you on that.
Man, so all the people, I got to say, sidebar again, all the people saying that they're piping in crowd noise, that is bullshit. They are not. He is so freaking good at his job that they are just overcoming he can't even get a word in edgewise. I loved on Raw when he had to whisper into Rhea's ear what to say because the crowd wouldn't let him speak. It was so loud, but then they booed Rhea. It just was loud.
Like, what a great little character beat that was. What a great little character beat that was, where he's like, yeah, I'm so chicken shit. I have to have my heater do my talking for me, and I'm whispering in her ear. It's like, I agree. I think it's Dom in this one. I think Lesnar comes in, costs Cody the match, and off we go to SummerSlam for them.
So you think Dom's going to win in an unclean way?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
I think Dom's going to win. I think Lesnar's going to show up, but I don't think he's going to actually do anything to Cody. I think the fact that he's just standing there is going to, like, Dom is going to win by the most powerful move on all of sports entertainment, the sneaky roll up.
So I think there are three ways you do it. I think that's one possibility, Alex. I think he comes out and assaults Cody. That's two. Or Cody wins and Brock comes out afterwards for the confrontation and destroys him again.
I don't want to see that. I don't want to see number three. Dom needs a win.
It's, again, those are the three ways I can imagine it. Honestly, I wish this was the opener. I hope this is actually the opener. If you want to get the crowd off to a crazy start, this would be a great one.
I don't want this main event. For some reason, I think Seth's going to be the opener. I don't know why. I think Seth and Finn are going to be the opener.
I just don't see how the Bloodline isn't the main event.
The main event, exactly. And now, let's get to that before I take my leave. I am so excited for this match more than ever. But I'm going to tell you something. It's weird. I feel like WWE stooges off my other podcast sometime because I've been telling my buddy that we do this. I said, the Usos turning face is the beta test for turning Roman face. They're going to turn Roman face in the long run.
Oh,
I think so, 100%.
Yes,
yeah, and
absolutely.
he's going to have thunderous reactions. And I said the way you would turn Roman face is you would have the elders say, Roman, you're shaky. We can't have a tribal chief that is weak and, paranoid. And Heyman does a Brock Lesnar Big Show turn on him, where Solo is the guy who gets the nod. And freaking the Usos come out last night and said, we got our vote with the tribal chief for Solo. And then Roman laughed it off, and then you could see the contention there. And I'm like, man, I just called that like a week ago. But I think that's going to be something that's going to happen down the road. But I still proclaim that Cody is the one to get the pin on Roman at Mania. It will be a heel Cody.
I think what you do is you have, when Roman loses the belt to whomever he loses it to, you have him stand up and shake the person's hand.
I agree.
I think that, and that's all it would take, is for Roman to say, you know what, you are the better man than me today.
That's the beginning.
Right?
That's the beginning of the turn.
Yeah.
I think you have a heel Cody, though, eventually.
I think you will. And he's actually already, if you notice the way he's using that cast, he's starting to use it in sort of sneaky ways, very much like a heel. So I think
he brought out Pharaoh. It's one step away from bringing out Brandy.
He's really getting closer to potentially turning heel if they want to.
Yeah. And it's like with
Brandy, he's a heel. He's done. He's cooked if he brings up Brandy to the Raw audience.
Kind of like Sammy and Ty Mello. Whenever Ty comes out, they
but
hate.
Alex, you weren't really watching.
Oh, absolutely
Cody
no, I wasn't.
Brandy, were you?
No.
Oh, dude, you think Sammy and Ty Mello get it bad? You should see the promos when Brandy would come out and grab the mic. Like, Tony Khan was so tone deaf to not turn Cody heel with that and run with it. But Cody didn't want to be a heel. I think that's part of it. But, I mean, Jesus, he was such a heel because the crowd hated him when Brandy was the Nightmare Family. When they came out with the dog on the top of the ramp, oh, my God, they booed the shit out of them.
Look, just remember, nothing makes you a heel like a beautiful woman on your arm, a.k.a. Dom Mysterio. So
gorgeous. Nice call.
It's been that way forever and ever and ever, folks, and that's just the way it goes.
I'm going with the Usos to win here, and I'm going with Roman being pinned.
I think Jay pins Roman, and that sets up their SummerSlam match.
Yeah. Yep, he takes the pin. Because everyone's like, oh, the smart money is on Sikoa having a miscommunication and Sikoa taking the pinfall and eating it, and then Roman being pissed at Sikoa. I say Roman gets pinned, like you said, Matthew. And that leads to the whole elder is like, oh, we can't have a tribal chief that's being pinned, that's weak, that's this. And you see the fracturing begin even more. Because what I'm seeing is they're going to go the way with Roman, like they did with Austin in the Alliance, when he started getting super uber paranoid and shaky. And I think that's the way it's going to go with Roman.
Oh, I don't disagree with that. And I think, and look, he's called main event Jey Uso. He's going to get that main event of SummerSlam. Yeah. And that's where he's going to be like, I'm going to live up to the name you gave me by being the main event, by being the one. It started with me. It's going to finish with me at SummerSlam in the main event.
Jimmy's leveled up too, though, man. I got to be honest. Jimmy has really leveled up since Night of Champions. His mic skills have gotten better. He's just like, man, the whole
Jimmy. I actually think Jimmy's always been better as a promo guy. But Jimmy is less sympathetic than Jay. Like that's the thing. Like nobody does like I'm torn. I don't know what to do. It's eating me from inside better than Jey Uso.
Yeah.
So you get more sympathy for Jay. But Jimmy's always been the better talker. Jimmy's always been sort of the cool brother. So I think he's doing, and he's also like his stock is going to rise too in all this. So it's a phenomenal storyline. It's been maybe the best storyline in the history of pro wrestling from an execution standpoint.
I'm going to unequivocally say it has ousted Austin and McMahon for me, for sure. Because, yeah, Austin and McMahon was fun, and it was amazing, and it brought everything we've got. But, nah, this is like cinema for wrestling. It's been so perfect. Like, I've just never seen anything like this.
Austin McMahon was the addictive guilty pleasure TV show you watched, where every week it was another holy shit, how are they going to top it kind of momentum. This is cinema. This is long-term, layered character arc building storytelling that is going to raise future stars as it has already. And that was not something that Austin McMahon really did well. And it burned out after a year or two.
Yeah. Within a year and a half, you were tired of Austin McMahon. They keep squeezing juice, and I'm just like, man, I want them to go as long as they can till the wheels fall off.
It's gonna go at least until Mania 40. Like there's so much more that they're gonna keep squeezing.
I didn't think there was, but they proved me wrong. Because I'll say right now, my two favorite moments of wrestling this whole year so far. One, Sammy and KO winning at Mania. That was just like, I rewatched that match over and over, and like sometimes I get choked up. It's so good. But two, the promo from a week ago, or 2 weeks ago. I'm sorry, 2 weeks ago, where Jay's like, I stood up. I became main event Jay Uso. They know us now. And he's like, and I'm out. He's like, and you're out. And then when he was like, and I'm out too. And that kick, I must have watched that I'm out too kick like 30 times right now.
And I'll tell you who makes that moment. Roman makes that moment the way he sells the kick. Roman looks like he just got his head taken off with a mallet.
And then they do the double kick.
And it looks even more devastating.
When he's like pounding the ground and he's like holding his jaw and he's like in disbelief and just, so good. So good. This is why you love wrestling.
It's going to be a great show. It's going to be a great show.
I'm excited. But yeah, I do got to run. Alex, happy Canada Day. Matthew,
Canada Day.
We'll chat on the the chat. But you have an amazing 4th, Matthew.
Yeah,
and as well. Happy Crashing Day coming up, everybody.
Yes. Not just Independence. It's Crashing.
It's Crashing Day.
Celebrate your independence on Crashing Day this July 4th.
By not crashing, by driving safely.
By not crashing. Go to your local shop, pick up a copy, come out to those signing tours. Follow me on @Matthew Klein 316 on Twitter and @MacTheKnife1116 on Instagram. And I will be posting all about this tour. Please come out. And if you want to read something of mine for free, just so you can tell I'm not a schmuck and I write a good story, the Rhyme Scheme is free to read over on Tapas. It's a great hard-edge, hard-boiled PI story set in 90s Philadelphia. We just released all 10 chapters finally this past week, so you can read the whole thing for free. It'll take you 20 minutes.
Do you have any intention of releasing that in print?
Stay tuned, Alex. Stay tuned.
Fair enough.
I have to roll, folks, but pleasure with both of you, and we'll talk soon. You guys don't have to stop the show.
No,
that's fair.
That's the outro.
Yeah, I thought that worked as an outro.
That was a horrible outro.
We've done worse. Now Matthew's just part of the family of bad outros that we've had.
There you go.
I'm still recording, so we're gonna. This is the outro.
This is the outro. Okay.
Got it. Folks, we will catch you next time. Matthew will obviously be back again. If you want to get to any of his signing tours, I'm going to include the list of those in the show notes. So if you're listening to us on Spotify and you can't see them, graphicpolicy.com, search for those two geeks. You'll find the notes in there as well. That's it. I hope you had a great Canada Day. If you're north of the border, if you're south of the border, enjoy the Independence Day coming up, and we'll catch you next time.
Hey, thanks for watching the previous video from Graphic Policy Television. Just by watching, you help support our site. Thank you so much. Now, if you're watching these videos, you probably care about geeky things like movies, television, comic books, toys, games, video games, you name it. You can go and subscribe right now to our YouTube channel to stay in touch and catch all the new videos, or check out our website at graphicpolicy.com. There's a nice link on this end of the video. But as always, thank you for watching. Keep on rocking and keep it geeky.